She spent years trapped in silence, controlled through the one thing she loved most, her daughter. But one day, she snapped and rewrote the rules of her life. Stick around, because what she did next will leave you speechless. Before we continue, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe for more stories like this. The Whitmore family looked picture perfect. At least, from the outside. It was Lily's sweet 16 party, and the Whitmores had gone all out. Fairy lights twinkled across the backyard, tables were decorated in gold and blush pink, and a large banner that read Happy 16th, Lily, hung across the patio. Waiters moved around with trays of tiny sandwiches and sparkling lemonade. Music played softly in the background. Hannah Whitmore stood at the edge of the garden, half hidden behind a tree. Her pale pink dress, which she had picked out with so much care, now felt like a costume. She clutched her hands together and smiled, but it wasn't the smile of a happy mother, it was the smile of a woman trying not to cry. From across the yard, she saw her husband, David, laughing with a group of guests. He was tall, clean-shaven, with salt and pepper hair and the kind of charm that made people trust him instantly. He wore a crisp white shirt, sleeves rolled up, and held a glass of wine. He looked relaxed, confident, exactly the image he always portrayed. Next to him stood Lily, beautiful, glowing, and the center of attention. She looked every bit like a princess in her silver gown, with her long brown curls cascading down her back. She laughed at something David said and leaned into his side. Hannah's chest tightened. Her daughter didn't even glance in her direction. David noticed. He looked straight at Hannah and gave her a small smirk before whispering something into Lily's ear. Lily's smile faded a bit. She looked away. There it is again, Hannah thought. Another brick in the wall between us. Just then, the DJ turned off the music and tapped the mic. Can I have everyone's attention, please? People gathered near the small stage set up near the pool. David stepped forward, raising his glass. I'd like to say a few words for our beautiful daughter. Everyone clapped. Hannah remained still, watching from the shadows. David began, 16 years ago, we were given the greatest gift, Lily. He smiled warmly. Smart, kind, beautiful, just like her father. The crowd chuckled. Hannah's fingers tightened around her clutch. David continued, raising a daughter isn't easy. You want to protect her, guide her. And sometimes, he paused for dramatic effect, you have to make the hard decisions to keep her safe from unnecessary influences. Some people murmured in confusion. Hannah knew exactly what he meant. She's grown up so well because we've always been a strong team, David said, motioning toward Lily. We've always had each other's backs. He didn't even mention Hannah. No we as in husband and wife. No thank you to the mother who birthed and raised Lily. Just him and Lily, like she was a third wheel in her own family. The guests clapped again. David raised his glass. To Lily. To Lily, everyone echoed. Lily beamed, her eyes glossy with happy tears. Hannah tried to approach her after the speech. She walked up slowly, smiling gently. You look beautiful tonight, sweetheart, she said softly. Lily barely looked at her. Thanks, she said, flatly. I wanted to give you something, Hannah said, pulling out a small, neatly wrapped box. It's your grandmother's locket. I thought you might like to. I already have something, Lily interrupted, pointing to a shiny necklace on her chest. Dad got it for me. He said this one was more my style. Oh, Hannah said, her heart dropping. That's nice. David appeared behind Lily, placing a hand on her shoulder. You okay, Lil? Do you need a break? No, I'm fine, Lily said, smiling up at him. He gave Hannah a cold glance. You shouldn't overwhelm her, Hannah. It's her day. I wasn't. Let's give her some space, okay? He said, ushering Lily away without another word. Hannah stood frozen in the middle of the crowd, holding the unopened locket in her hands. Later that night, when everyone had gone home, Hannah sat alone in her room. She looked at the untouched gift box on her lap. Then she opened her journal and began to write. She won't even look at me anymore. He's turned her against me. And I let it happen. Tonight, I smiled for the camera while they erased me from the picture. But I'm still here. And something inside me is waking up. The next morning, Hannah sat at the kitchen table with a mug of tea that had long gone cold. She stared out the window as the sunlight streamed in. Her eyes were red from crying, but she hadn't let herself cry too loud. David hated when she got emotional. Lily walked into the kitchen in her pajamas. She grabbed some toast without even looking at her mother. "Good morning, sweetie," Hannah tried. "Morning," Lily mumbled, her eyes fixed on her phone. Hannah waited, hoping for a smile, a thank you for the party, something. But Lily just scrolled through Instagram, biting into her toast. "You looked so grown up last night," Hannah said softly. "I was really proud of you." "Okay. Did you like the decorations?" "They were fine." Silence. "Did you get a chance to open the gift I gave you?" "I said I didn't want it, Mom," Lily said, her voice sharp now. "I already told you. Dad got me something better." Hannah swallowed hard. "It's not a competition. I just thought your grandmother's locket meant something." Lily rolled her eyes. "Why do you always do this? Make everything about feelings." "I just want us to connect again, Lily. We used to be so close." "Well, maybe I grew up." Hannah's heart cracked. David walked in, tying his tie, and immediately noticed the tension. "Everything okay here?" he asked, already siding with Lily just by his tone. "We were just talking," Hannah said quickly. "Mom's being dramatic," Lily muttered. David gave Hannah a condescending smile. "Hannah, let her breathe. She's a teenager. She doesn't need to be smothered." Hannah opened her mouth to argue but stopped herself. "Don't feed into it. Don't give him another excuse to call you unstable." Instead, she stood up quietly. "I'll just go take a walk." As she passed David, he leaned in and whispered, "You're losing her. And it's no one's fault but your own." She didn't respond. Later that day, Hannah sat alone in the attic, surrounded by dusty boxes and old photo albums. She pulled one down and flipped through the pages. There were baby pictures of Lily, Hannah feeding her, holding her, Lily sleeping on her chest. "We were so close once," she thought. "When did it all slip away?" A small envelope slipped out from the back of the album. It was a folded piece of construction paper with crayon scribbles on the front. It read, "To Mommy. From Lily. Age 7. Hannah's hands trembled as she opened it. Inside was a note, written in Lily's childish handwriting. "Dear Mommy, I love you even when you cry. I love you even when Daddy says you're mad. I love you because you hold me at night. I miss you even when you're here. Love, Lily." Tears spilled down Hannah's cheeks. This was before the full brainwashing began. Before David really got into Lily's head. This was her daughter's real voice. Hannah clutched the letter to her chest and cried. Not quietly this time. Deep, aching sobs that echoed through the attic walls. That night, after everyone had gone to bed, Hannah sat at her desk. She turned on a small recorder she had hidden in her drawer. She spoke directly into it. "My name is Hannah Whitmore. This is day 1 of recording. If anything ever happens to me, I want people to know what I went through. I want Lily to know the truth. I am not crazy. I am not dramatic. I am a mother trying to survive." She clicked the recorder off. Then she opened her journal again. "She used to love me. I have proof now. He took her from me in pieces, slowly. A word here, a look there. But I'm waking up. I'm not going to fight him with fire. I'll fight him with truth." She closed the journal, locked it in a box under her bed, and for the first time in years, she slept without fear. It had taken Hannah years to realize something was wrong. Not just wrong in the normal way couples argue, or how people grow apart. No. This was different. It was quiet control. The kind that didn't leave bruises, but left you doubting yourself. In the early years of their marriage, David made her feel special. He used to say, "I don't want anyone else. You're the only one who gets me." And Hannah, young and in love, had clung to that. Even when he started making all the decisions. Even when he began correcting the way she spoke in front of others. "You're too sensitive," he would say with a charming smile. "You worry too much. You're embarrassing yourself." At first, she thought he was trying to help. That maybe she was too emotional, too unsure of herself. Then Lily was born, and everything changed. David adored Lily. At least, that's what everyone saw. He fed her, read bedtime stories, played silly games. To the world, he was Father of the Year. But Hannah noticed something else. Whenever Lily cried and reached for her mother, David would swoop in. "No, no, let Daddy calm her down. Mommy gets overwhelmed, remember?" When Lily started walking and clung to Hannah's leg, David would frown. "You don't want her to be too attached. It's unhealthy." As the years passed, he began twisting things. If Hannah said no to a sleepover, David would say, "See, Lily? Mommy's overreacting again." If Hannah cried when Lily ignored her, David would pull Lily aside and whisper, "She's just trying to make you feel guilty. You didn't do anything wrong." He never raised his voice. He didn't need to. He raised doubt. And doubt, Hannah learned, was stronger than shouting. One afternoon, when Lily was 9, Hannah came home from the grocery store and found Lily in her room, curled up on her bed. "Hey, honey," Hannah said, setting the bags down. "Everything okay?" Lily didn't look up. "Daddy said you don't want to be around me anymore." "What?" Hannah's heart dropped. Why would he say that? "He said you're always mad when you come home. That you want to be alone. That I should give you space." Hannah sat on the bed and gently took her daughter's hands. "Sweetheart, that's not true. I love being with you. I just get tired sometimes, that's all. But it's never about you." Lily nodded, but the seed had already been planted. Doubt sat in her small eyes. That night, Hannah confronted David. "You told Lily I don't want to be around her." David leaned back on the couch, remote in hand. "She asked why you always look annoyed. I told her you're tired. Maybe you should work on not snapping so much." "I don't snap." "There it is," he said, calmly. "That anger. You don't even hear yourself anymore." "I'm not angry. I'm exhausted. You twist everything." He stood up, slowly. "You're starting to scare her." Hannah backed away slightly. "What does that mean?" "It means," he said, his voice low, "that if this continues, I might have to take precautions. For her sake." It was the first time he said it. But not the last. From then on, every disagreement came with that unspoken threat, "I could take her from you." Now, in the present day, Hannah was finally beginning to see the whole picture. She sat in the living room late at night, Lily's note in her lap, David snoring upstairs. She whispered to herself, "He didn't love me. He loved control." Then she opened her laptop and started researching. She typed, "Signs of narcissistic emotional abuse." What she read made her stomach twist. Gaslighting, parental alienation, smear campaigns, triangulation using the child, threats disguised as concern, weaponizing emotions, isolation from friends, family, making you feel crazy for reacting. Hannah leaned back, eyes wide. She wasn't crazy. She wasn't alone. She was a victim. But she wasn't going to stay one. Not anymore. The next day, Hannah couldn't stop thinking about the letter she found in the attic. Lily's words, simple and raw, echoed in her mind like a haunting lullaby. I miss you even when you're here. That line hit her the hardest. Because it wasn't just about physical presence. It was about the emotional wall David had built between them. She needed to do something. But where to start? She couldn't confront David yet, not without a plan. And she couldn't just snatch Lily and run. That would only make her look unstable, and David knew exactly how to play that card. So she started small. She returned to the attic with a flashlight and began digging through old boxes. School projects, birthday cards, report cards, and more letters. Not many, but a few. Crayon drawings labeled me and Mommy. Notes with hearts that said I love you to the moon. Cards that had obviously been hidden away, tucked behind yearbooks and photo albums. Why were they up here? Why weren't they kept in Lily's memory box downstairs? That's when she realized David had been taking them, removing them from view, erasing every trace of closeness between mother and daughter. Hannah sat down, overwhelmed. Then something stronger than sadness rose in her. Rage. But not wild, screaming rage. This was cold and focused. She took out her phone and began taking pictures of every letter, every drawing, every card. Then she started a secret email account. Subject line, for Lily, when you're ready. She didn't hit send yet. But it was there. Waiting. That evening, while Lily was at dance practice and David was in the shower, Hannah picked up the phone and called someone she hadn't spoken to in almost 10 years. The phone rang twice. Hello. Hi, Hannah said, her voice shaking slightly. Is this Ava Harper? There was a pause. Hannah Whitmore. Yes. Oh my God. It's been years. I know. I'm sorry to call out of nowhere, but I need help. I think I'm in trouble. Not physically, but emotionally, mentally. She stopped herself. I'm being controlled. Ava's tone changed instantly. Hannah, talk to me. I'm here. What's going on? They met the next day at a quiet cafe in town. Ava was just as Hannah remembered. Calm, warm eyes, and an energy that made people feel safe. She was now a licensed therapist and life coach. Hannah felt embarrassed at first, but Ava took her hands across the table and said, You don't have to explain. Just start from the beginning. For the first time in years, Hannah told someone everything. The gaslighting, the manipulation, the way David used Lily against her. Ava listened without interrupting. And when Hannah finally paused, Ava said the words she had been desperate to hear. You are not imagining this. You're living with a narcissist. And he's using your daughter as a weapon. Hannah nodded slowly, tears in her eyes. I thought so. But hearing you say it. I've worked with many women in your shoes, Ava said gently. It's like being in a cage that no one else can see. And every time you try to tell someone, they think you're overreacting. Yes. Hannah leaned forward. He's so charming. Everyone loves him. He always says the right thing. That's how they work, Ava said. But you're not powerless, Hannah. You can build a case. You can reclaim your relationship with your daughter. But it'll take patience. And a plan. I want her back, Hannah whispered. I want my daughter back. You will, Ava said. But first, you have to stop reacting and start recording. That night, Hannah began documenting everything. She bought a small voice recorder and placed it in the living room. She began keeping a timeline, dates, phrases David used, the way Lily repeated his words. She even kept screenshots of texts and photos of how often Lily was left alone with David, while Hannah was kept too busy or emotionally unfit. She had a folder labeled Truth. And in that folder, she began collecting herself again. One night, around 11 p.m., Hannah sat at the dining table alone. She flipped open one of Lily's old journals she had found packed away in the attic. Inside was a short entry, dated 3 years ago. Today Mommy cried because I didn't hug her. Daddy said not to worry about it. He said she's just being dramatic. I hope she stops crying soon. I don't like it. Hannah read it 3 times. Then she whispered to herself, he taught her that my love was weakness. She set the journal down. Then she turned on her recorder and said, Day 4. Lily is slipping through my fingers. But I found proof today, proof that she once missed me, proof that her heart still remembers. I'm going to get her back. Not with lies, not with guilt, but with truth and love, even if she doesn't see it now. A few days later, while Lily was at school, Hannah passed David in the hallway. He looked at her with that smug expression again, the one that said, I'm winning. But Hannah didn't flinch. She met his gaze, smiled softly, and said, You'll want to be careful, David. He raised an eyebrow. About what? She stepped closer. About what you say from now on. Some words have a way of coming back. David stared at her, eyes narrowing. Is that a threat? No, Hannah replied calmly. It's a promise. And with that, she walked past him. Not as the scared, broken woman she had been, but as someone who had just found the first thread in the web and started pulling. Hannah couldn't remember the last time she laughed. Not the polite chuckle she used at parties, not the fake laugh she gave David when he told his passive-aggressive jokes, but a real laugh. The kind that made your chest light. That changed the day she met Ava again. They sat in Ava's cozy office, a room full of soft cushions, books on healing, and scented candles that smelled like lavender and old paper. Sunlight streamed in through the windows as if the universe itself wanted Hannah to feel safe. Ava poured them both herbal tea and sat down across from her. You look tired, Ava said gently. I haven't really slept in years, Hannah admitted, giving a weak smile. They sipped in silence for a few moments before Ava leaned forward. Have you told anyone else about what's happening? Hannah shook her head. No one would believe me. David's too perfect. Everyone thinks I'm the one with the problem. That's by design, Ava said. He needs you to look unstable so he can keep control. But I don't scream. I don't break things. I just shut down. Ava nodded. That's what abuse does. It makes you afraid of even having emotions. Hannah swallowed hard. Sometimes I wonder if maybe I really am too emotional. Too much. No, Hannah, Ava said firmly. You're human. You're hurt. And you've been blamed for feeling pain. That sentence opened something inside Hannah. A door she had been too afraid to even knock on. She started to cry, not quietly, but freely. The tears spilled from her eyes like rain after a drought. Ava handed her tissues and let her cry without judgment. When Hannah finally calmed down, she said quietly, I want to get my daughter back. Then we need to start rebuilding you first, Ava said. Piece by piece. Over the next few weeks, Hannah started seeing Ava regularly. She learned about narcissistic abuse, emotional triangulation, and how David had slowly turned Lily into an extension of himself. Ava gave her tools, journaling exercises, grounding techniques, and most importantly, strategies. Don't fight back directly, Ava told her during one session. Not yet. Don't argue. Don't beg. Don't try to fix his lies. Let him think you're still broken. That's when he's careless. But what about Lily? Hannah asked. She still looks at me like I'm the enemy. She doesn't hate you, Hannah. She's confused. She's trying to stay close to the person who controls her world. That's survival. But deep inside, she remembers you. We just need to remind her, gently. Ava encouraged her to keep writing letters to Lily. Not to give now, but to save for the right moment. One night, after a particularly painful conversation with Lily, Hannah sat at her desk and wrote, Dear Lily, I know you think I don't understand you. I know you think I don't care. But I do. I always have. When you were 2, you had a nightmare and ran into my room. You curled up beside me and said, "Don't let the dark get me." I held you all night. And I've been fighting the dark ever since. Even now. Especially now. She tucked the letter into a folder marked, "For her someday." And she kept going. Meanwhile, at home, Hannah played her role carefully. She smiled at David's cruel remarks. She nodded when he gave parenting advice like she wasn't the mother. She laughed when he said, "Let me do the talking." Let him believe the game was still his. But in the quiet moments, she was learning, preparing, watching. Each time he twisted Lily's words, she wrote it down. Each time Lily mimicked his language, "You're being dramatic, stop acting guilty," Hannah noted the pattern. She even placed a small audio recorder in Lily's backpack. Not to spy on her, but to catch David's voice when they were alone. Just in case. She wasn't paranoid anymore. She was prepared. And she was done being afraid. It was a Saturday morning when it happened. David sat in the kitchen, sipping coffee, reading emails on his phone. Lily sat across from him, laughing at something he showed her. Hannah came in with a warm plate of pancakes. She placed them gently on the table and smiled. "I thought we could all eat together today." David didn't look up. "Actually, Lily and I are going shopping after this. Just the 2 of us. We have a tradition now, don't we, Lil?" Lily nodded, grinning. "Yep. Dad Day Saturdays." Hannah kept her face calm. "That's nice. Can I come along?" David chuckled. "You wouldn't enjoy it. It's our thing." Hannah looked at Lily. "I used to take you shopping too, remember? When you were little." Lily glanced away. "I don't really remember." That cut deeper than anything else. David reached out and touched Lily's hand. "Let's not make her feel bad, okay?" Hannah felt the wave of humiliation crash over her, but she didn't let it show. Not this time. Instead, she smiled. "Of course. Enjoy your day." She turned and walked away, head held high. Later that day, she met Ava at her office and said, "He's planning something. I can feel it." Ava listened carefully. "What makes you say that?" "He keeps making little comments about Lily needing stability. He's been asking her if she'd prefer living in a quieter house. And yesterday I overheard him on the phone talking to a lawyer." Ava's eyes sharpened. "It sounds like he's planning to file for sole custody." Hannah felt the blood drain from her face. "He's going to say I'm unstable. He's been setting this up for years. Then it's time we get ahead of him." That evening, Hannah did something bold. She called a new name, Elliot Rhodes, a soft-spoken but sharp-witted family lawyer Ava had recommended. Elliot was known for his work in emotional abuse cases, especially involving parental alienation. When Hannah arrived at his office, she was nervous. But the moment Elliot shook her hand and said, "Let's make sure your voice is heard," she felt something shift inside her. She told him everything. The manipulation. The recordings. The journal entries. The hidden letters. Elliot took notes carefully. "You've done half the work already," he said. "Most women come in here with only their pain. You came in with proof." "But is it enough?" she asked. "He's so good at playing the victim." Elliot looked her in the eyes. "Then let him keep acting. Because the bigger his performance, the easier it will be to expose him." In the weeks that followed, Hannah quietly gathered more. She spoke to Lily's old teachers, and some remembered how David had told them not to bother calling Hannah during school issues. She found a neighbor who once heard David mocking Hannah's parenting through the window. She collected every email, every passive-aggressive message he'd sent saying things like, "You're not in a good place mentally. Let me handle Lily." She stored everything in a digital vault Elliot helped her create. And still, at home, she played her part. One night, David casually mentioned over dinner, "I've been thinking, maybe Lily should stay with me more during the week." You've seemed a little off lately. Hannah raised an eyebrow. Off. He smiled. Just distracted. Forgetful. Stressed. I don't want you to burn out. Lily looked up from her plate. Are you okay, Mom? Hannah looked her daughter in the eyes and smiled gently. I've never been clearer. David frowned, caught off guard by her calmness. Hannah excused herself from the table. Behind her bedroom door, she pulled out her journal and wrote, He thinks I'm falling apart. Good. Let him believe I'm weak. Because the stronger I get, the more surprised he'll be when the curtain falls. A few days later, Elliot called. His filed a motion. He's trying to claim that you're emotionally unstable and that it's affecting Lily's mental health. He wants emergency temporary custody. Hannah closed her eyes. It's happening. Don't worry, Elliot said. We're ready. That night, Hannah didn't cry. She didn't panic. She simply sat down at her desk, took out a fresh page, and wrote, Dear Lily, your father is trying to erase me. But he forgot one thing. You came from me. My heartbeat was your first lullaby. My arms were your first home. And no one can take that away. One day, you'll see clearly. And I'll be here, waiting with open arms. The house was quiet. Too quiet. Hannah stood in the kitchen, staring at the cold cup of tea in her hands. She hadn't touched it. Her mind was far from the present, racing, preparing, rehearsing. David had filed for emergency custody. The court date was in 3 days. He believed he would win. And if she stayed, if she played it by his rules, maybe he would. But Hannah had learned something in the last few weeks. Sometimes the only way to win is to stop playing. She opened her purse and checked everything again. A USB drive with recordings. Copies of Lily's old letters. Legal documents Elliot had prepared. A handwritten note. Everything was ready. The plan had been carefully coordinated. Ava had helped secure a safe place. Elliot had filed a countermotion. The evidence was stacked. But now, Hannah had to do the hardest part. Disappear. Not forever. Just long enough to let the truth speak louder than her presence. That morning, David walked into the kitchen, adjusting his cufflinks. Have you seen my tie? No, Hannah said calmly, placing her teacup in the sink. You're unusually quiet. I'm just thinking. He muttered. Lily and I will be out late. I'm taking her to dinner. She needs peace before the big day. Hannah turned to him. Is that what you think this is? Peace. David gave her that same smug smile. I'm giving her stability. Something you haven't been able to provide for a long time. Right, Hannah whispered. He grabbed his briefcase and headed toward the door. Try not to spiral today. She watched the door close behind him. Then she picked up her bag and quietly walked out the back door. She left no trail. No dramatic goodbye. No last-minute argument. Just a small note placed in Lily's bedroom drawer. Watch what happens when I stop dancing. Hannah arrived at a quiet cabin 2 hours away. Ava greeted her with a warm hug and a pot of tea already brewing. The windows opened to a view of tall trees and silence. No noise. No pressure. Just space. You did it, Ava whispered. I feel like I can breathe, Hannah said. But I'm scared. You're allowed to be both, Ava replied. Over the next few days, Hannah stayed offline. No calls. No texts. She trusted Elliot to manage the legal firestorm that would soon follow. Back at home, David came home that evening whistling, expecting to gloat. But the house was eerily quiet. Han, he called. Where are you? He checked the bedroom. Empty. Kitchen. Nothing. He walked into Lily's room, and something caught his eye. The drawer was slightly open. He pulled it fully and saw the note. His smile faded. The next morning, David was at the courthouse with his lawyer. He was fully prepared to present Hannah as unstable, irresponsible, and emotionally erratic. What he didn't expect was Elliot Rhodes walking in calmly and handing the judge a thick file of counter-evidence. Recordings, letters, timeline logs, emails, testimonies, all pointing to a long-term pattern of manipulation and emotional alienation. David's lawyer tried to object. "This is hearsay." The judge raised a hand. "Mr. Whitmore, these materials show deliberate attempts to isolate the child from her mother. These are serious allegations. Until this is investigated further, emergency custody is denied." David blinked. "What about Hannah?" the judge asked. "Where is she now?" Elliot stood. "She has temporarily relocated for her safety, permitted by law, due to the psychological distress caused by Mr. Whitmore." The judge nodded. "Very well. This court will require a psychological evaluation for both parents. Further proceedings are postponed until we verify everything." David sat frozen. For the first time, he wasn't in control. Lily noticed it the second she came home. The air felt different, still, hollow. No gentle humming in the kitchen. No warm food on the stove. No one asking how her day was. "Mom," she called. No answer. She checked every room. Her mom was gone. When she asked David, he just shrugged. "She's taking a break. She needs time alone." Lily frowned. "She didn't say goodbye." "Maybe because she didn't think you'd care." That line sat heavy on Lily's chest. She didn't say anything. That night, Lily wandered into her mother's room. Everything was clean. Nothing felt out of place. Except, everything was missing. She sat on the bed and looked around. Her eyes landed on a drawer near the bedside. She pulled it open. Inside, she found a plain white folder. Curious, she opened it. It was filled with old letters, drawings, cards, all from her. Some she vaguely remembered. Some she didn't remember writing at all. She picked up a crayon drawing of her and her mom under a rainbow. On the back, it read, "Me and Mommy after our dance party." Lily's heart clenched. She picked up another, a letter, age 7. "Mommy, I miss you even when you're here." And another. "I don't like when Daddy says you're sad. I want you to be happy." Tears filled her eyes. Beneath the folder, there was something else. A small pink USB. She plugged it into her laptop. A voice recording started to play. Hannah's voice. Day 10. "Lily wouldn't talk to me today. David told her I was being dramatic. Again. I tried to explain myself, but I could see in her eyes, he got to her first. I miss her. I miss the little girl who used to crawl into my lap and tell me I was her favorite person." Another clip played automatically. Day 24. "His telling her I'm unstable. That I'm too emotional. I heard her repeat it today. And she believed it. It broke me. But I stayed quiet. Because if I push too hard, I become the monster he painted." Lily clicked rapidly through the files, her hands shaking. Each one, her mother talking late at night, crying softly, trying to understand how she lost her daughter. Day 31. "If you ever hear this, Lily, I hope you know I never stopped loving you. I never gave up. I just had to go quiet so you could hear me again." Lily covered her mouth as the tears came. Everything she had believed, every insult, every cold shoulder, every judgment against her mother, had been planted. And she had watered them. The next day, Lily sat at the breakfast table across from David. He sipped his coffee like nothing had changed. She stared at him. "Why did Mom leave?" "I told you. She's unstable. She needed time." "Did you tell her I didn't want her here?" David looked up, slightly startled. "What are you talking about?" "I found the letters. The recordings." He paused. Lily's voice cracked. You lied to me. David leaned back slowly. Sweetheart, your mother manipulated those. No, she cut in. You did. Silence. I remember things now, Lily whispered. How she used to hug me when I cried. How you said not to baby me. How you made fun of her when she cried. Lily. You turned me against her. David's face hardened. I did what I had to. She's unstable. No, she's not, Lily said, standing up. You are. And she walked away. That night, Lily opened a new document on her laptop. She started to write. Dear Mom, I don't know if you'll ever read this, but I found your letters. I heard your voice. I see everything now. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I don't know how I let him do it. I don't know how I didn't see. But I see now. Please come home. I miss you even when you're not here. She didn't send it yet. But it was there. And for the first time in years, it came from her own voice. Hannah had never felt both so terrified and so calm in her life. She stood outside the courthouse, a scarf wrapped tightly around her neck, heart pounding. She had returned from the cabin 2 days earlier. Quietly. No drama. No announcement. The hearing was today. David didn't know she was back. Inside her coat pocket were the final pieces of evidence Elliot had assembled, copies of Lily's childhood drawings, dated journal entries, and the USB with over 3 hours of audio, David's manipulation, his subtle threats, and her own heartbreak recorded night after night. This wasn't just her fight anymore. It was a mother fighting for the right to be remembered truthfully. She closed her eyes and whispered, Please let Lily see me. Not what he said I was, but me. Inside the courtroom, David looked polished, calm, confident as always. He spoke first. Your Honor, I believe Hannah suffers from untreated emotional instability. She often isolates, becomes paranoid, and refuses to communicate rationally. I've had to protect Lily from her unpredictable behavior. Elliot stood up before David could finish. Your Honor, we have evidence to challenge these claims, including audio recordings, first-hand journal documentation, and items retrieved from the family home showing long-term parental alienation. The judge frowned. You're saying the child was manipulated? Elliot nodded. Yes. And we believe Mr. Whitmore used his charm and calculated language to slowly sever the mother-daughter bond. David scoffed. Are we really entertaining conspiracy theories now? Elliot opened the folder and slid it across to the judge. If Your Honor will permit it, we'd like to play a few brief audio clips. They are date-stamped and verified. The judge nodded. Proceed. The courtroom was silent as the first recording played. Mom's just being dramatic again, Lily. You know how she is. Don't let her guilt you. The second. You're too emotional, Hannah. You're going to mess her up if you keep making her feel things like that. The third. Hannah's voice, weary but steady. Day 28. I watched him tell her I was dangerous again. All because I cried. He's teaching her that a woman's emotions are a weapon to fear. The judge listened with a furrowed brow. Elliot handed over a second folder, handwritten letters, colored drawings, and a printed transcript of the USB recordings. David began to sweat. Later, when Hannah was asked to speak, she stood slowly. Her voice didn't shake. Your Honor, I was never perfect. But I was present. I was there for every birthday, every night she was sick, every school play she was nervous about. I was there. She held up a small card. This is from Lily when she was 7. It says, I love you even when Daddy says you're mad. That's what he did. He poisoned her view of me, little by little. She turned to David. You made her ashamed of needing me. David shook his head, but didn't speak. Hannah looked back at the judge. I don't want to erase him. I'm not here to win. I just want my daughter to see that I never stopped loving her, even when I was pushed into the shadows. The courtroom was completely still. The judge leaned forward. We will take a recess before making a ruling. Lily sat in her bedroom, the letter to her mom still open on her laptop. She had read it over and over but hadn't sent it yet. Part of her was scared. Scared of what she'd find on the other side of the truth. Scared that her mother would hate her now. That it was too late. But then her phone buzzed. It was a message from her father's lawyer. Court hearing concluded. Temporary joint custody granted pending family therapy. You will be hearing from a court-appointed therapist shortly. Her hands trembled. She opened the browser and typed in her mom's name. No social media. No photos. But she remembered something. Her mom used to use an old email. She opened her inbox and slowly typed the address. hannah.w.whitmore@gmail.com. She hit send. Subject: I heard you. I don't know if this is still your email. But I heard the recordings. I found the letters. I see it now. I'm sorry I believed him. I didn't know how much I was losing you. Can we meet? Love. Lily. She pressed send. Then she waited. Meanwhile, in her small rental apartment, Hannah stared at her laptop screen in disbelief. She hadn't seen that email address pop up in years. She clicked it open. Her hands flew to her mouth. Tears slipped silently down her cheeks. The kind of tears that came not from pain, but from finally being seen. They met the next day. At a small park bench under a flowering tree where Hannah used to take Lily when she was a toddler. Lily walked up slowly, clutching the pink folder Hannah had left behind. Hannah stood, unsure, trembling. Lily looked at her for a long time. Then she whispered, "Is it really true?" Hannah nodded, voice shaking. "Yes." "I believed everything he said," Lily whispered. "And I treated you like you didn't matter." "You were a child," Hannah said gently. "He made it feel like love had sides. It never did." Lily began to cry. Hannah opened her arms. Lily walked into them. And for the first time in years, they held each other. Not out of habit, not out of guilt, but out of remembered love. Later, they sat on the bench, side by side. Lily pulled out one of her old drawings and held it up. "It's funny. I don't remember drawing this. But it feels warm." "You were always warm," Hannah said. "He just taught you to fear it." Lily looked down. "Can we fix this?" Hannah nodded. "We already are." In the weeks that followed, court-ordered therapy began. It was hard. Lily cried often. Hannah had to sit through sessions hearing her daughter talk about how confused she'd felt, how guilty she was, and how angry. But underneath it all, there was truth now. Real truth. Not filtered through David. Not shaped by fear. Just them. Rebuilding. The final court ruling came a month later. The judge ruled in favor of shared custody, with final say granted to Hannah on educational and emotional matters until Lily turned 18. David's visitation was allowed, but supervised. He had lost his power. Not because Hannah screamed. Not because she ran. But because she stood in her truth, and waited for the world to finally listen. Months later, Lily sat at the kitchen table, scribbling in her notebook. Hannah brought over 2 mugs of cocoa. "What are you writing?" she asked. Lily smiled shyly. "Something for English class. We're writing essays about people who taught us what strength looks like." Hannah raised an eyebrow. "And who'd you choose?" Lily pushed the paper across the table. Hannah read it. "My mother taught me quiet strength. Not the kind you shout with. The kind you whisper with when the world is screaming. The kind you survive with when no one believes you." I forgot who she was for a while. But I remember now. And I'm never letting her go again. Hannah looked up with glassy eyes. Lily took her hand. "I remember you now, Mom." And for the first time in forever, Hannah finally remembered herself too. If this story stirred something in you, don't just scroll away. Hit the like button to support powerful stories like this, subscribe for more raw and real content, and drop a comment below. What would you have done in her shoes? Your voice matters here.